there are nights when the mind refuses to rest. Small, scattered thoughts collide like fragments of meteorites trapped within an orbit too narrow to breathe. Work expectations, quiet fears, unanswered questions, all of them spiral into a circle that is silent yet deeply exhausting. And then we begin to notice perhaps what drains us is not the world outside, but the constant effort to understand everything. Tonight, we will not try to understand. We will step back. On this journey, you will encounter things that should not exist. Stars crystallized into diamonds, planets burning hotter than their own suns, galaxies missing what is thought to be the cosmic glue of the universe. But instead of viewing them as physical anomalies, we will see them as mirrors. The universe does not always obey our intuition, and perhaps the human mind does not either. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." As you listen to these impossibilities drifting in deep space, you may begin to release something else, the need to control every answer. Let this orbit slow, and let the impossible become a gentle lullaby for your mind. There are things which, if heard only in passing, would sound like fiction. A star turning into a diamond, fire becoming solid, light becoming crystallized. And yet, it is real. Somewhere in the cold vastness of space, there exist stellar cores that have cooled where carbon no longer burns in brilliance, but quietly rearranges itself into a crystalline lattice. A colossal diamond, once the beating heart of a sun. We grow up with a simple intuition: stars are fire, stars are heat, stars are flame. But the universe never promised to preserve that image forever. It is not bound by the way we imagine it. And perhaps what unsettles us is not the phenomenon itself, but the subtle loss of certainty. We like to believe we understand the world, that everything can be placed into a neat and orderly frame. Yet each time science uncovers something that should not exist, it does more than expand knowledge. It softens a very quiet pride within us. Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Perhaps the universe is the same. We recognize its logic only in hindsight. In the present moment, it always moves beyond intuition. A star turning into a diamond is not a violation of law. It is simply a reminder that the laws are larger than we once believed. And if the universe can shift from fire to crystal, from turbulence to structure, then perhaps the contradictions within us are not mistakes either. Perhaps your firmness was once a flame. Perhaps your silence was once a storm. We often grow anxious when life does not follow the rules we expected, when emotions refuse to be reasonable, when people change. But tonight, try to see that change the way the universe sees an aging star, not as an ending, but as another form of existence. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to allow reality to be wider than your thoughts. Out there, the stars continue to crystallize in silence. And within you, perhaps something is also quietly rearranging itself according to a deeper order than you realize. Let that thought slow, light as stardust. And if the universe does not always follow our intuition, perhaps tonight, you do not have to follow every one of your thoughts either. When we think of a planet, we tend to imagine something familiar. A sphere turning around its star, perhaps hot, perhaps cold, but still within a range that feels understandable. We believe we know what a planet is, and then the universe tilts its head and smiles. Somewhere in the deep expanse, there exists a world called Kelt 9b. It orbits its star at a distance so close it almost brushes the fire. Its surface temperature is hotter than some small stars. Molecules cannot remain stable under such heat. Even metals vaporize. A planet hotter than a star. If you pause for a moment, it feels unreasonable. In our intuition, a star must be hotter than a planet. That order was taught to us since childhood. Yet KELT 9b remains there, turning steadily in silence, indifferent to our definitions. Then there is HD 1897733b, a deep blue world that from afar appears as gentle as an ocean. But in its atmosphere, winds roar at supersonic speeds, and when it rains, it is not water. It is shards of glass blown sideways through the sky like glittering knives. And TRIES 2b, a planet darker than coal. It absorbs nearly all the light that touches it. It does not reflect. It does not shimmer. It is simply a round darkness drifting across the face of its star. 3 worlds, 3 extremes. And a question begins to take shape. What is the limit of a planet? Perhaps that question is not meant only for astronomy. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Twilight of the Idols, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The universe does not seem concerned with our how. How hot is too hot, how dark is too dark. It simply allows existence. And within that existence, the most diverse forms endure. We often impose limits upon ourselves, the same way we once imposed limits upon planets. Too sensitive, too different, too intense, too quiet. But if a planet can rain glass and still be called a planet, then perhaps your difference is not a flaw. Perhaps it is simply a form of existence we are not yet accustomed to. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." The universe revises its own definitions with every discovery. So does our life. What today seems impossible may tomorrow be merely another variation of being. Perhaps the problem is not that the world is too extreme. Perhaps it is that we want everything to fit within the safety of our expectations. KELT 9b does not apologize for being too hot. HD 1897733b does not soften its storms to appear more gentle. TRIES 2b does not try to reflect light in order to become more presentable. They simply exist. And in their existence, they expand the meaning of planet. Carl Jung once wrote in Psychology and Alchemy, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Perhaps TRIES 2b, that blackened world, is a perfect metaphor. Darkness is not something to erase. It is simply a part of reality we have not yet learned to look at directly. These extreme planets do not break the laws of the universe. They only break human expectations. And that, if you think about it, is gentle, because it means the universe was not built according to average standards. It is wide enough for every form of existence, from fire to glass, from radiance to dense shadow. Perhaps tonight, as you lie in the darkness of your room, you may feel that you are too something. Too thoughtful, too sensitive, too tired. But out there are worlds far more extreme, and they still turn in their orbits. You do not need to fit an old definition. You do not need to soften yourself to be accepted by a pattern. The universe has allowed what once seemed impossible to exist. Why should you not allow yourself the same? Imagine drifting among those planets, a place where rain falls as glass, a place where light is never reflected, a place where fire burns so fiercely it dissolves every familiar structure. And amid all that extremity, you notice something very quiet. They are still there. They still exist. They do not ask permission. Perhaps the limit does not lie in reality. Perhaps it lies in the way we define it. And when you loosen those definitions of planets, of people, of yourself, your mind may feel a little wider, a little lighter, Out there, the worlds that are too hot, too dark, too fierce, continue to turn. And within you, the parts that seem too much may also find their own orbit. Let that thought slow. Like a planet that does not need to resemble any other. The universe is wide enough. Perhaps your soul is as well. There are moments when we believe we understand enough about how the world works, that there are foundational laws, sturdy structures, carefully built models, and everything will fit within them. And then the universe whispers something else. Kepler 51b is one such whisper. A planet nearly the size of Jupiter, yet astonishingly light. Its density is so low that if it could be placed into an ocean vast enough to hold it, it would almost float like a cloud. Scientists call it a super puff, a cotton candy planet. Pause for a moment and imagine. A colossal world without heaviness. An enormous sphere, yet nearly hollow. Our intuition tells us that large must come with weight. That size implies mass. But Kepler 51b disagrees. It exists as a gentle counter-argument to ordinary logic. And elsewhere in the universe, there is said to be a planet that is the remnant core of a dead star. A diamond world orbiting a pulsar. Where once there was radiance, now there remains only the steady pulse of a neutron star. Pressure and time have compressed matter into crystalline form. A planet, like a jewel. A planet, like vapor. Two extremes of existence. Too light, too dense, too fragile, too hardened. And between those extremes, we recognize something deeply human. We too live within models. A person should be like this. Success must look like that. Stability must be solid, heavy, certain. Yet life rarely follows the diagrams we draw. Some people who appear strong are fragile within. Some souls who seem gentle carry within them the density of years of memory and experience compressed by time. Carl Jung once wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But truly are does not always match the model society has constructed. Not everyone must be dense like diamond. Not everyone must be light like cloud. And perhaps we do not need to choose one or the other. When scientists discovered Kepler 51b, they had to revise their assumptions about planetary structure, not because the universe was wrong, but because their models were not yet wide enough. Perhaps our personal crises are similar, when something does not fit the plan, when we do not fit the expectation, when emotions refuse to follow logic. We tend to think something is wrong. But perhaps the only thing that needs to change is not you, but the frame through which you understand yourself. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Chaos is not a system error. It may be the prelude to a new form. Kepler 51b exists in a nearly fragile state. It is young, still cooling, still slowly contracting over time. That diamond world is the result of pressure, of death, of restructuring. One is a beginning. One is a remnant. Both are valid. In a human life, there are phases when we are puffy, expansive, soft, not yet clearly defined. And there are phases when we become condensed, compressed by experience, by loss, by responsibility. No phase is wrong. They are simply different states of being. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it is endurable, then endure it." Perhaps what unsettles us is not change itself, but the belief that we must remain fixed, consistent, preserving the same shape. But the universe does not preserve its shape. Stars become diamond, planets swell and then contract. Matter shifts from light to dense, from dense to dissolved. When density and structure exceed the standard model, we should not panic. We should listen. Perhaps you are in your lightest phase, easily shaken, easily wounded. Or perhaps you are in your densest, firm, compressed, not easily opened. Whatever the case, you are still existing within a universe that has proven every form has its place. Imagine yourself drifting between those two worlds, one like cotton candy, one like diamond. You do not have to choose. You only need to allow yourself your own orbit. The universe is not limited by its models. Perhaps you are not either. And as that thought settles, you may feel a small lightness, as if the rigid definitions in your mind are dissolving, as if you no longer need to fit perfectly into any template. Out there, the planets that should not exist continue to turn, and within you the parts that seem unreasonable may also be finding their way into a new form. Let that widening unfold slowly, like a universe that continually adjusts its own understanding. And within that turning, you may rest. Perhaps we have grown accustomed to a very ancient idea: life requires light. We were raised beneath blue skies, beneath the warmth of the sun. Plants stretch upward through photosynthesis. Oceans shimmer under the reflection of day. Light seems to be the first condition of survival. And yet, when telescopes look beyond Earth's orbit, a quiet question emerges. What if life does not require starlight at all? Titan, the largest moon of Saturn, is a hazy, golden-orange world. Its thick atmosphere veils the surface where temperatures are so cold that methane falls as rain. Not water, methane. Lakes, rivers, weather cycles, and all of it unfolding in deep freeze billions of kilometers from the sun. If you stood on Titan, the light would feel like a permanent twilight. No forests, no bird song, only cold winds moving across fields of hydrocarbon ice. And yet scientists still ask, could chemistry there give rise to something alive? Then Enceladus, another small moon of Saturn, carries the question further. Its surface is a desert of white ice, cold and silent. But beneath tens of kilometers of frozen crust lies a hidden ocean, and from fractures near its south pole, plumes of water burst into space like quiet fountains. Within those plumes, the Cassini spacecraft detected complex organic molecules, an ocean without sunlight, a source of energy drawn from tidal forces and gravitational friction. Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Perhaps the universe is the same. Life does not only sprout in brilliant light. It may form in places we once considered hopeless. We are often afraid of darkness, afraid of the unclear parts of ourselves, afraid of the phases of life that lack light, lacking achievement, lacking recognition, lacking visible joy. But Enceladus reminds us that beneath a quiet sheet of ice, an ocean may be moving. Titan reminds us that even within a murky and frigid sky, intricate cycles still unfold. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. But perhaps before that dancing star, there is a darkness that must first be accepted. Not all growth is loud. Not all life needs illumination. In the deep ocean beneath ice, there is no sunrise, no sunset. Only the silent motion of water, of heat, of chemistry. And perhaps that is enough. As you lie down tonight in a room with the lights turned off, you may feel as though you are in a small pocket of darkness of your own. We do not always shine. We are not always radiant. But that does not mean there is no movement within. Perhaps the thoughts you do not yet understand, the emotions you have not yet named, are like currents beneath the ice, quietly shaping something new. The vast universe is not only a realm of starlight. it is also a realm of hidden oceans. And if life can exist without direct sunlight, then perhaps in the quietest phases of your life, something is still being nurtured. No need for noise, no need for proof. Only the simple fact of existing. Out there, Titan still receives its methane rains upon cold lakes. Enceladus still sends its plumes into the dark expanse. And here, within the steady rhythm of your breathing, there is also a very small ocean moving slowly without light, without attention, only needing to be what it is. Let that thought settle like snow upon white ice, and allow the darkness to no longer be something to fear, but a space where the deepest things may quietly be born. There was once an assumption modern science held with almost absolute confidence: galaxies require dark matter to exist. For decades, astronomers observed something peculiar. The stars at the edges of galaxies were moving faster than the visible matter could gravitationally hold together. If there were only stars, gas, and dust, those galaxies should have dispersed long ago. So a concept was named dark matter, a form of matter that does not emit light, does not reflect it, does not interact with it, yet has mass and exerts gravitational pull. According to current models, about 85% of the universe's matter is dark matter. And if we include dark energy, nearly 95% of the universe consists of what we do not directly observe or fully understand. We live in a world where most of reality is invisible. Then one day, scientists observed a faint distant galaxy, NGC 1052 DF2. It is nearly the size of the Milky Way, yet contains far fewer stars. When they measured the motion of the star clusters within it, something unexpected appeared. The stars were moving more slowly than predicted. Too slowly. So slowly that it seemed this galaxy might contain little to no dark matter at all. If that is true, then DF2 is like a structure built without the invisible framework we thought indispensable. A galaxy missing what we believed it could not do without. This did not immediately dismantle the standard cosmological model, but it created a fissure, a question, a pause. And in science, such pauses are precious. Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." Perhaps science is the same. We construct models from past data, yet the universe is always capable of presenting an exception ahead. A galaxy lacking dark matter does not mean dark matter does not exist, but it reminds us that reality does not always conform to tidy theoretical frames. And in a strangely gentle way, this is healing, because human beings long for certainty. We want structure, law, clear resolution. We want to believe that if we understand enough, we can control enough. But the universe is different. It operates with components we have not yet touched. 95% of reality remains beyond our grasp. And even within the 5% we study, there are galaxies that refuse to follow the rule. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny for what could more aptly fit your needs." DF2 is like a thread that deviates from the pattern we thought we understood. Yet, it is precisely that deviation that compels us to re-examine the entire tapestry. Perhaps dark matter is distributed differently than we imagine. Perhaps this galaxy experienced collisions stripped of its invisible halo. Or perhaps there is something deeper within gravity's structure that we have yet to comprehend. Whatever the answer, DF2's existence is a gentle reminder. Our understanding is always provisional, and that is not as frightening as it seems. As you lie down tonight, you may also carry unanswered questions, unclear relationships, emotions not yet formed into words. The human mind resembles the universe. The conscious part is only the surface. The unconscious shadow memory impulse occupies far more. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But that does not mean you must understand everything all at once. Like astronomers, you can accept that there are dark regions that require time. A galaxy without dark matter does not instantly collapse. It still drifts. It still exists. It still glows softly in the vastness. Perhaps you do as well. You do not always need to have enough of everything. Enough certainty, enough clarity, enough structure, enough answers. Perhaps your existence does not depend on fully understanding yourself. Out there among billions of galaxies, there are faint, fragile structures that seem to lack the standard conditions, and yet they remain, drifting quietly. The universe is not entirely neat. It is vast, intricate, and largely unknown. And perhaps when we accept that a portion of the pressure within us dissolves, you do not need to understand 95% of the universe. You do not need to understand 95% of yourself tonight. Simply lie there, gentle as a faint galaxy, drifting in your own space, and allow uncertainty to become part of the beauty. There is something quietly fascinating about motion. When you stir a cup of tea, the water begins to spiral. When a child spins in an open yard, her dress unfurls into a soft circle. When a galaxy forms, it too begins to turn. Movement seems to be a natural language of existence. But what if it is not only individual galaxies that rotate? What if the entire universe is turning as well? Recent observations from the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful telescope ever launched into space, have offered a detail that made astronomers pause. When looking deep into very distant, very ancient galaxies that appeared when the universe was still young, scientists noticed something not entirely random. The proportion of galaxies rotating in one direction seemed slightly greater than the other. Not a perfect 50-50 split as we might expect if everything were purely chaotic, but a subtle imbalance, just a little. It may be observational error, it may be data bias, but it may also be a trace of something deeper. A hypothesis emerges if from the moment of the Big Bang, the universe possessed a slight overall angular momentum, a gentle primordial spin. Then this imbalance could be a remnant of that original rotation, a universe not born in perfect stillness, a universe that began in motion. Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." Everything flows, everything moves. But if the very foundation of reality is also turning, then motion is not merely a consequence. It is essence. And in a strange way, that thought is gentle. Because we often seek absolute stability, a point that does not move, a foundation that does not tremble. But perhaps nothing is entirely still. Space is expanding. Galaxies are spinning. Time is flowing. And if the entire universe carries a subtle motion, then we too are being carried within that orbit, whether we notice it or not. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "All things are chained together, intertwined in love." If the universe spins, then everything within it spins together, not separately, not in isolation, but as part of a larger movement. Perhaps human life is the same. There are moments when we ask, why am I here? Why did events unfold in this particular sequence? We often search for specific causes, a wrong choice, a right decision, an unexpected opportunity. But what if there was an initial momentum, a faint direction of spin from childhood, from environment, from temperament, and the later orbits were simply natural consequences of that first turning? This does not mean rigid destiny, only a foundational motion, According to theory, when the universe was born, it expanded extremely rapidly in a phase called cosmic inflation. During that expansion, tiny quantum fluctuations were magnified into vast structures, galaxies, star clusters, cosmic voids. From very small disturbances to immense formations. If the universe carried an initial spin, it too may have been tiny. Yet over time, that spin could leave traces, like a small habit shaping an entire character, like an early choice unfolding into a chain of events. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." If the universe is change, if it is motion, then resisting that motion may be what exhausts us. You do not need to stand still in order to be at peace. You can be at peace even while turning. Imagine the entire universe as a vast spiral, but very slow, very gentle. Not a violent storm, but a soft movement extending across billions of years. Within that motion, you lie here, on a planet rotating around a star, within a galaxy spinning in space, perhaps within a universe turning faintly. You are not separate from that motion, you are part of it, and that is not frightening. It is like floating upon a wide river. You do not need to control the entire current. You only need to relax your body and allow the water to hold you. Perhaps that slight imbalance in galactic rotation will be explained. Perhaps it will disappear as more data arrives. But even if it is merely a statistical illusion, the question it raises remains. If the foundation of reality is not entirely random, then perhaps we are living within a dance larger than we imagined. And in that dance, no step is entirely alone. When you close your eyes tonight, try to feel this. The Earth is turning. The solar system is moving around the center of the galaxy. The galaxy is drifting through expanding space. You do not need to do anything. You are already being carried. If the universe truly spins, then you are spinning too gently, slowly within the orbit of something vastly greater. And perhaps instead of resisting that motion, you can allow yourself to rest within it, like a small grain of dust in a whirl of light. Small, yet not separate. Simply drifting. There is a very deep assumption within modern cosmology that if you step back far enough, if you widen your view enough, the universe will appear uniform. No single star cluster standing out. No solitary spiral galaxy. Only an average picture where matter is distributed more or less evenly in every direction. This is called the cosmological principle. It is like standing in the middle of a forest. If you look at one tree, it may be taller, bent, distinct. But if you rise high above, the entire forest becomes a vast green expanse. And yet, when astronomers began mapping the universe in 3 dimensions, they started to see something beyond expectation. Walls, not of stone or concrete, but of galaxies. Bands of structure stretching billions of light years across. One of them is called the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall. The name sounds almost mythic, but it is a structure inferred from the distribution of gamma ray bursts and distant galaxies. With an estimated size exceeding 10 billion light-years, it far surpasses the limits once predicted by standard models. To imagine this, remember that our Milky Way is only about 100,000 light-years across. That Great Wall is hundreds of thousands of times larger. If it truly exists as a coherent structure, then the cosmological principle, the foundation of modern cosmology, may need reconsideration. And here, a very particular feeling arises. Not fear, but awe. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Practical Reason, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. The starry heavens above us are already enough to leave us silent. But knowing that behind those stars lie structures greater than imagination deepens that sense of awe. We once believed that at the largest scales, the universe was smooth and balanced. But perhaps it is more like a woven tapestry with threads denser in certain regions. Other Great Walls have been identified as well, such as the Sloan Great Wall, each expanding the boundaries we once thought maximal. So is the cosmological principle wrong? Perhaps not entirely. Perhaps it is an approximation valid at a certain scale, yet not encompassing the full complexity. This evokes something profoundly human. We too often believe we understand the structure of our lives. We think we know the pattern study work, love, age, a relatively even sequence. And then personal great walls appear. Events too vast, upheavals that stretch across years and alter the entire trajectory. When they appear, we ask, are the laws we trusted truly unchanging? Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Perhaps cosmological principles are the same. They are models, powerful, useful, yet still perspectives. The universe is under no obligation to be tidy according to our expectations. And when seen deeply, that carries a strange beauty. For if reality can exceed the frame of theory, then possibility exceeds the limits we once imposed. Imagine yourself drifting within a vast network of galaxies, luminous filaments interwoven like a cosmic web between them, immense voids. These walls are not solid barriers. They are simply regions where matter is slightly more concentrated, like life itself, where some periods are dense with experience and others feel empty. Yet the whole remains a connected network. Perhaps the universe is not entirely uniform. Perhaps there are structures larger than we anticipated. But even that lack of uniformity resides within a greater whole. And within that whole, you also have your place. You are small compared to a galaxy, even smaller before a great wall stretching billions of light years. But you are not outside that structure. You are part of the web. Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "Have you ever said yes to a single joy, O my friends? Then you said yes to all woe." If we say yes to our own existence, we also say yes to the entire intricate structure that gave rise to us, from primordial quantum fluctuations to colossal galactic walls. Perhaps the cosmological principle is true at one level, and perhaps it is not the entire story. But what matters is not whether every structure perfectly obeys a model. What matters is that we can stand beneath the night sky knowing that beyond those stars lies an architecture vast beyond imagination, and still feel at peace. Not because we understand everything, but because we accept that there are layers of structure we have only begun to touch. When you close your eyes tonight, let this thought settle: the universe is wider than you think. Its structures are more intricate than you imagine. And our understanding is always a small part of a vast whole. But that does not make you meaningless. It simply makes you humble. And within that humility, there is a deep peace. Like lying within a colossal network of light supported by structures greater than any thought, and still permitted to rest. There is something very familiar in human life. We believe that everything has an ending. A candle burns and then goes out. A star exhausts its fuel and then explodes. A cycle closes. In the cosmos, the death of a star is often a decisive event. A supernova, brighter than an entire galaxy, can tear space apart, hurling matter across light years. But sometimes something does not unfold exactly as the script predicts. LP 4365 is one such example. It is believed to be the remnant of a Type 1a supernova, an event thought to completely destroy a white dwarf star. And yet, instead of being erased, LP 4365 survived. burned, chemically altered, and flung from its system at a speed exceeding 800 kilometers per second. It is racing out of the Milky Way. No planets, no companion, only a half-burned remnant carrying the imprint of an incomplete explosion. It sounds like fiction, but it is real. There is something deeply human in that image, an entity that should have ended but did not. Not intact, not as it once was, but still existing. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Twilight of the Idols, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." The phrase is often quoted as motivation, but in the context of EPI 4365, it carries another meaning. Sometimes what does not kill us does not make us stronger in the usual sense. It makes us different. It leaves scars. It alters our inner structure. LP 4365 is no longer an ordinary white dwarf. Its chemical composition has changed. Its structure is no longer standard. It is a half-burned being, and it continues. Then there is another extreme of existence. PSRJ 1748-2446 AD, a neutron star rotating nearly 700 times per second, more than 40,000 revolutions per minute, faster than an industrial drill. To reach that state, it endured the death of a massive star collapsing into a core so dense that a spoonful of its matter would weigh billions of tons. Then, within a binary system, it fed on material from its companion star, gradually spinning faster and faster. Physics tells us there is a limit. Spin too quickly and centrifugal force will tear it apart, and it is turning right at that boundary. There are things in the universe that live at the edge of possibility. There are entities that refuse to die in the way we expect. There are structures that spin so fast they nearly surpass their limits. This is not only about stars. Human beings also have limits: physiological, psychological, emotional. There are phases when we believe we cannot continue. There are shocks that seem capable of ending the entire orbit of our lives. And yet somehow we keep turning. Not as before, not whole, but still in motion. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." LP 4365 did not control the explosion that hurled it from its system. PSRJ 1748-2446 AD did not choose the death of its parent star, yet they continue to exist in new forms. Perhaps strength is not in avoiding the explosion, but in continuing afterward. There are people who carry within them chemical scars, memories, wounds, events that have restructured who they are. They are no longer the earlier version of themselves, but they are still here. And that alone is a quiet miracle. When physics is pushed to its limits, it does not immediately collapse. It bends. It adapts within its allowable range. The universe is not as fragile as we imagine. It can exist under conditions far more extreme than we once believed. You can as well. Perhaps you have stood near your own rotational limit, strained, exhausted, doubting yourself. Perhaps you have endured an inner explosion that shattered what once felt stable. And yet, you are still here, like a neutron star spinning at the edge but holding its structure, like a runaway star racing through dark space, still glowing faintly. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." LP 4365 is not the star it once was. PSRJ 1748-2446 AD is no longer its original form. They are beings reshaped by catastrophe, and so are you. As you lie down tonight, imagine a small star flung from its galaxy drifting quietly through space. No one waiting for it. No one tracking its path daily. And yet, it continues. Imagine a neutron star spinning in silence, impossibly fast, yet holding itself together. The universe contains things that refuse to die, movements that refuse to cease. And perhaps within you there is such a core, small, dense, more resilient than you know. Not loud, not dramatic, simply turning. If physics can endure such extremes, perhaps the human mind holds wider margins than we once believed. Let that thought settle. Out there, half-burned stars continue to drift. Neutron stars continue to spin. And here, in the darkness of this room, you too continue to exist. Not perfect, not unbroken, just still here. There are places in the universe where even light must stop. Not because it wishes to, but because it cannot do otherwise. TON 618 is one such entity, a supermassive black hole with an estimated mass of about 60 to 70 billion times that of the Sun. If placed at the center of our solar system, its event horizon would swallow the orbits of several planets. But what makes a black hole haunting is not only its size, it is the concept of no escape. The event horizon is an invisible boundary. Once an object crosses it, nothing, not even light, can return. To a distant observer, the time of that object appears to slow, stretching toward infinity, as though it were frozen at the edge of the black hole. Albert Einstein once wrote, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Near a black hole, that sentence becomes almost tangible. Time is no longer a steady flow. It stretches, it contracts, it is pulled taut like fabric. Space and time, the foundations we assume to be solid, become soft here. And when we dwell on that long enough, a strange feeling arises. Not fear, but awe. The universe is not only vast, it contains regions where the fundamental structure of reality is tested. A black hole is not a hole in the ordinary sense. It is a region where matter becomes so dense that space-time curves into itself. At its center, according to the equations, lies a singularity, a point where density approaches infinity, and our current laws of physics are no longer sufficient. A boundary of understanding. And, in a very quiet way, this reflects the human mind. There are experiences in life that resemble an event horizon. Once crossed, we feel we cannot return to the previous version of ourselves. A loss, an upheaval, an irreversible change. We often fear such points of no return, but the universe offers another perspective. A black hole is not only a devourer, it is also a source of immense energy, wherein falling matter is heated to millions of degrees, where the laws of physics are tested at their deepest level. Even Stephen Hawking suggested that black holes are not entirely black. They may emit faint radiation known as Hawking radiation. Not completely sealed, not completely absolute. What seems to offer no escape may still contain the smallest openings. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." A black hole is the ultimate impediment to light. Yet its existence has opened new insights into gravity, into quantum theory, into the nature of space-time itself. Perhaps the black holes in your life are similar. Dark, heavy phases where you feel pulled inward by the invisible gravity of anxiety or memory. Moments when time itself seems to slow each minute, heavy as lead. And yet perhaps it is at that very boundary that you touch the deepest part of yourself. Carl Jung once said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." A black hole is the universe's hell where light disappears. And yet, it is precisely there that physicists search for clues about quantum gravity, about the microscopic structure of reality. Not every darkness is meaningless. Photon 618 turns slowly at the center of a brilliant quasar, drawing matter inward and releasing immense energy from the accretion disk that surrounds it. It is both abyss and source of light. A gentle paradox. Perhaps within you there are deep regions, thoughts you seldom touch, memories you avoid. But they are not only darkness. They may also contain energy not yet fully understood. When you look at a black hole, you do not see its center. You see only the boundary, the event horizon. What lies inside remains unknown. Perhaps the human mind is the same. We see only the edge of what we dare to confront. The deeper regions require patience and courage. But tonight, you do not need to fall into your own singularity. You only need to recognize that even the places that seem to have no escape in the universe are part of the greater structure. Space does not collapse because black holes exist. It bends. Your life does not collapse because there are dark regions. It changes shape. Imagine drifting near a vast black hole, but at a safe distance. You watch light curve time slow, a sight both terrifying and breathtakingly beautiful. And then you realize you do not need to fall in to acknowledge that it exists. There are boundaries we can observe without crossing. Out there, TON 618 continues to turn quietly in the vastness of space. Not loud, not hurried, simply existing as part of space-time's architecture. And here in the gentle darkness of this room, you too are existing. You do not need to solve every equation. You do not need to cross every boundary in a single night. Simply accept that there are deep regions in the universe and within yourself that can be respected rather than feared. Let that thought move slowly, like light bending around a black hole, not vanishing, only changing direction, and within that orbit, you may rest. There are sounds that last only 1,000th of a second, so brief that if you blink you will miss them, so brief that they seem to have no time to exist at all, and yet they carry energy equivalent to hundreds of millions of suns shining at once. They are called fast radio bursts, FRBs. When they were first discovered in 2007, astronomers thought they might be interference, an instrument error, a reflected signal from Earth. But then they appeared again, from different directions across the universe, each lasting only a few milliseconds. Then silence, and within that silence a question began to form. FRB 121102 marked a turning point. Unlike other bursts that flared once and vanished, this source repeated, like a heartbeat. Not regular like a clock, but frequent enough to dismiss the idea of a singular accident. Was the universe whispering when humans first discovered pulsars, rapidly spinning neutron stars emitting steady radio waves? They were nicknamed LGM, Little Green Men, because their signals were so precise that some imagined extraterrestrial intelligence. In time, we found the physical explanation. But that first moment of not knowing it was beautiful, because it showed that we were willing to listen. Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." An FRB is not a puzzle that must be solved immediately. It is an experience of hearing something from billions of light years away. Today, many FRBs are believed to originate from magnetars, neutron stars, with extraordinarily strong magnetic fields capable of releasing sudden bursts of energy. That does not make them any less wondrous. In just a few milliseconds, an immense quantity of energy is unleashed, traveling through space, crossing galaxies, passing through clouds of gas until it reaches a radio antenna on Earth. A tiny click in an instrument and a vast question in the human mind. There is something gentle in that image. We live in a universe that is mostly silent. No sound travels through vacuum. No wind, no crashing collisions like in films. And yet, at the electromagnetic level, the universe is full of waves. Light rays, radio signals, all vibrations. And we have learned to listen. Martin Heidegger wrote, "In being and time language is the house of being." If language is the house of existence, then perhaps radio waves are another kind of language, not of consciousness, but of physics. The universe does not speak in words. It speaks in energy. And we, with our vast antenna dishes, sit in the night, waiting to hear. Perhaps FRBs are not signals of intelligence. Perhaps they are simply the result of extreme magnetic fields and chaotic plasma. But their existence reminds us that reality is not entirely mute. There are pulses, rhythms, brief surges, and then quiet again. Human life is similar. There are moments so short yet powerful enough to alter an entire trajectory. A sentence, a glance, a message, a decision. They may last only seconds, but their consequences travel far like radio waves crossing galaxies. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present." FRB. Remind us of the power of the instant. A few milliseconds, no more, yet enough to be recorded, analyzed, remembered. Perhaps you too have sent out such signals in your life. A small action, a choice that seemed insignificant, yet echoed for years. Perhaps you have also waited for a signal from someone else, a sign, a reply. Is the universe whispering? Perhaps, but not in the way we expect. It does not send clear messages. It sends bursts of energy, and we must learn to interpret them. As you lie down tonight, imagine a pulse of radio waves leaving a distant galaxy billions of years ago. It began its journey when Earth had not yet developed complex life. It traveled through dark space silently, persistently, and then in a very brief moment, it touched an antenna on this small planet. That is all. A moment of contact. Perhaps the most beautiful thing is not that we decode every signal, but that we are curious enough to listen. You do not need to understand every whisper in your life. You do not need to decode every emotion. Sometimes it is enough to know that pulses are occurring within and beyond you. The universe is not entirely silent, and neither are you. Within the stillness of the night, there are faint heartbeats, a brief signal, a delicate vibration. And in that listening, you may find a quiet peace, that you are inside a vast reality that is not mute, and you are not the only one sending signals into the dark. When we look up at the night sky, we often think of distant places, galaxies millions of light years away, colossal black holes, mysterious signals. But sometimes the most profound story lies very close. Within our own stellar neighborhood, there are two worlds that once had the potential to become home and did not. Mars. The cold red planet carries on its surface the traces of ancient rivers, dried lake beds, valleys curved as if water once flowed through them. Rovers have discovered minerals formed in wet environments. There was a time when Mars may have had a thicker atmosphere, warmer and denser, but then it lost its protective magnetic field. The solar wind gradually stripped away its atmosphere. Water evaporated, froze, or escaped into space. A world that once held potential became silent. Then there is Venus, Earth's twin sister in size. From a distance, it might resemble another version of home, but its atmosphere is thick with carbon dioxide. A runaway greenhouse effect has driven surface temperatures high enough to melt lead. The pressure crushes any human-made probe within a short time. A world so similar yet deviated slightly, and that slight difference changed everything. There is something very quiet in this realization. Earth is not a default outcome. It is not inevitable. It is a fragile balance, distance from the sun, atmospheric composition, magnetic shielding, oceans, plate tectonics. A chain of conditions aligning just enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." When we look at Mars and Venus as almost worlds, we recognize that life on Earth is not self-evident. It is like an opportunity, a balance held steady for a moment within a larger flux. If the orbit had shifted slightly, if the atmosphere had thickened by one more layer, if the magnetic field had weakened sooner, we would not be here to ask the question. Carl Sagan wrote in pale blue dot on it, "Everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives." That line is often quoted to emphasize Earth's smallness in the cosmos, but here it is also a reminder of fragility. Mars is a lesson in gradual loss. Venus is a lesson in runaway imbalance, and between those extremes, Earth is a delicate calibration. We often think of failure as personal, a project that falters, a relationship that dissolves, a plan that veers off course. But in the universe, divergence is simply variation. Mars is not wrong. Venus is not a failure in any moral sense. They are outcomes of different conditions, and that thought can lighten the heart. Not every path that does not lead to life is a mistake. Not every altered orbit is an error. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in "The gay science to live is to suffer to survive, is to find some meaning in the suffering." Mars and Venus exist as reminders of change, of how a world can transform in irreversible ways. Yet Earth shows that sometimes balance persists long enough for life to bloom. In your own life, perhaps there have been Mars phases, periods once full of potential that gradually lost their warmth. And perhaps there have been Venus moments, runaway heat, when emotion or circumstance intensified beyond comfort. But between those extremes, there are still temperate zones where breath steadies, where ground feels solid beneath your feet. Fragility is not weakness. It is the condition for life. If Earth's climate shifted too quickly, ecosystems would not adapt. If temperature fluctuated too wildly, balance would collapse. The human mind is similar. It needs rhythm. It needs enough stability to heal. As you lie down tonight, imagine Earth turning slowly between its two sisters. On one side, a red frozen desert. On the other, a shrouded furnace. And between them, a thin blue world with oceans and white clouds. You are living on an almost world that did not fail. That does not make you superior to other worlds, but it makes this moment a little more precious. You do not need to solve the planet's climate in one night. You do not need to understand every condition that brought you here. Simply recognize that this existence is the result of a delicate chain of balances. And in that recognition, there is a very gentle feeling that you are standing on a world that endured. Mars remains cold. Venus remains blazing. But Earth and you upon it are breathing. Let that thought settle. Among all the possibilities that did not unfold, among all the worlds that almost were, you are here. And that, in itself, is a very quiet miracle. There is an ancient question humanity has always carried. Where did everything begin? And when we arrive at an answer, we ask again, what came before that? In modern physics, black holes were once considered endpoints, a singularity where density approaches infinity and equations cease to function. Yet some scientists have proposed another possibility. What if the singularity is not an ending, but a beginning? Black hole cosmology suggests that within a black hole there may exist a new space-time. When matter collapses into a singularity instead of vanishing, it could bounce out into another universe, a new Big Bang. If that is true, then perhaps our universe is the interior of a black hole, belonging to a parent universe. And if so, that parent universe may itself reside inside another black hole, and so on turtles all the way down. The phrase comes from a parable. A woman claims that the earth rests upon the back of a giant turtle. When asked what the turtle stands on, she replies, "It's turtles all the way down, an infinite chain, no bottom, no final resting point." The idea can feel overwhelming. We are accustomed to seeking foundations, a final ground, a first stone, a primordial cause. But what if reality has no bottom in the way we expect? Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "In the world as will and representation, the world is my representation." Perhaps what we call the universe is only one layer within a structure far vaster, and that larger structure is itself only another layer. This does not diminish the meaning of the layer in which we live. It simply widens the context. Imagine that you are inside an immense black hole, but from within you do not perceive it as darkness. You see galaxies, stars, planets. You see a big bang that occurred billions of years ago. Your universe has history, structure, laws of its own. And outside, if that word still holds meaning, there may be another space-time you cannot access. Immanuel Kant distinguished between phenomenon and noumenon, the world as we experience it, and the thing in itself we cannot directly know. Perhaps our entire universe is a phenomenon within a larger architecture. Yet this does not make the night sky less beautiful. It does not dim the stars. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them." Even if our universe is only one layer in an infinite chain, you can still look upward and see stars. You can still breathe. You can still love. The idea of universes nested within universes dissolves the sense of a fixed center. There is no absolute point, no ultimate boundary, and perhaps this is true of the human self as well. We often search for a final essence, a definitive answer to the question, "Who am I?" But perhaps we too are layers within layers, memory, role, experience, longing. And when we think we have reached the core, another depth appears. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Yet when we look within, we do not find a simple endpoint. We find strata like universes nested inside one another. This need not exhaust us. It can lighten us. For if there is no ultimate bottom, we do not need to find it tonight. If reality is turtles all the way down, we may rest at the layer we inhabit. And that is enough. You do not need to decode the infinite architecture of existence. You do not need to know how many layers stretch above or below. You only need to know that here in this layer of reality you are present. Imagine each black hole as a doorway, each Big Bang as a new beginning, and the entire chain extending infinitely like a melody without a final note. Within that melody you are a small phrase, not the entire symphony, but not meaningless. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in Beyond Good and Evil, "If you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." Perhaps when we look into infinity, we glimpse the vastness of possibility itself. There is no absolute ending, only deeper layers of questioning. And tonight as you lie down, you do not need to descend through all those turtles. You may pause at this layer, in this room, in this breath. If the universe is a black hole within another universe, that does not make this moment less real. It only makes it slightly more wondrous. Turtles all the way down. And you within one layer of that endless chain are permitted to rest. And now, after passing through worlds of glass rain, black holes without escape, and galactic walls stretching billions of light years, perhaps the voice can soften, not to summarize, not to gather everything into a single conclusion, only to set it down. You do not need to understand it all. Out there, the universe continues to expand. The space between galaxies widens little by little. Stars continue burning in their cores. Neutron stars continue to spin. Radio signals continue to cross the dark. Everything goes on. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You do not need to control the expansion of the universe to be at peace tonight. You do not need to decode every mystery to deserve your place within it. We often believe knowledge will bring safety, that if we know enough we will no longer worry. But the deeper we look into the cosmos, the more we realize that most of reality remains beyond our reach. And that is not failure. It is a reminder that we are a small part of a structure far greater than ourselves." Carl Sagan wrote in Pale Blue Dot, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. You are small, yes. Compared to galactic walls, to supermassive black holes, to the infinite chain of turtles all the way down, you are a fine and fragile point. But you are not meaningless, for from that small point the universe is asking about itself. Through your awareness, questions arise, images form, thoughts weave themselves into words. You may not grasp the full architecture of space-time, but you can feel your breath. You can look up at the night sky and see the stars. And that is enough. Immanuel Kant once wrote, "Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." The starry heavens above and the inner world within. Those two vast spaces meet in you. Perhaps what is most beautiful is not conquering every question, but allowing yourself to live among them without fear. The universe does not require your understanding in order to function. Galaxies do not wait for you to complete your reasoning. Black holes do not demand that you solve their equations. They simply exist. And so do you. There is a subtle relief in realizing that you do not carry the entire structure of reality on your shoulders. You are not the center of everything, but neither are you excluded from it. You are a part of that vast network, a small part yet not replaceable. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "For all joy wants eternity." Perhaps your small moments, a quiet laugh, a gentle thought, a breath of peace, are also ways the universe experiences itself. You do not need to become a star to shine. You do not need to reach the largest structures to have value. Simply to be present is enough. As you lie down tonight, imagine the Earth turning slowly beneath you, the solar system drifting within the Milky Way, our galaxy moving through the immense cosmic web. Everything continues, and you in this quiet room are part of that motion. There is nothing more you must do, nothing more you must explain. Allow yourself to be small without feeling diminished. Allow yourself not to understand everything without feeling incomplete. Humility before the universe does not erase you. It lightens you. The cosmos will continue whether you are awake or asleep. Galaxies will drift whether you think of them or not. And that can be comforting. For in a reality vast and independent of you, you are permitted to rest. You do not need to understand it all. You do not need to control it all. You do not need to become anything other than yourself. Simply be here. Amid such immensity, you are small but not meaningless. And perhaps as that thought settles like stardust in the night, you can allow your mind to drift along the gentle orbit of the universe. Light, slow, and at peace.